Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on the show today. And we will now start by giving the San Francisco 49ers their props.
Tell you what, I heard a lot of complaints about the Super Bowl host city. So
No. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with Sam Darnold.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Sam Darnold, before the Super Bowl, this is not a post-mortem, was talking about learning to play the position of quarterback in the National Football League. All right?
Yeah.
And he was explaining that he didn't really understand how to really understand schemes and defenses until he went to the 49ers and was a backup and had the chance to sit there and absorb from Kyle Shanahan and others while he was backing up Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And it really was important to his growth and development that now his ability to understand deeply schemes and understand deeply defenses and defensive schemes that made him a better quarterback, his ability to sit. That's why when you sit back and you look at when Aaron Rodgers had to wait 3 years. Oh, God, he had to wait 3 years with Green Bay. He sat there and absorbed all the information without the pressure of having to play. I think it's helped Jordan Love.
As you said, Jordan Love, yeah.
To a point. I know when a player is drafted, especially a quarterback, people want to thrust them in right away and play.
Sure. Especially early on, if they're drafted early on.
Right? I mean, Drake May, it's not just Drake May had a tough day. Drake May had a tough playoff. He didn't play well in any of the playoff games. And I said that last week going into the game. He just didn't play well.
I agree.
Go in any of the 3 playoff games the Patriots were in. Darnold played well. Yeah, he was okay yesterday. But he played well in the other 2 games. And to my knowledge, I don't think Darnold had a single turnover in the postseason, which is something in the past that has plagued him. And now, I'll say this, Christian Gonzalez played a marvelous game for the Patriots.
Oh, he was outstanding. He prevented 2 touchdowns.
But Seattle's defense was so good, and they usually rush 4. When they did blitz, they came from all angles. I mean, Witherspoon was in the background, or was in the backfield left and right during the game. And
part of that, I think, is on Drake May, too, just the learning process, not seeing the blitz.
Part of I don't know.
Yeah, part of that was the line. Didn't block. That was a bad line.
The left side of the offensive line with the 2 rookies.
No, Campbell struggled significantly.
I mean, when you're going back to pass, and you know that's happening. You know, like you're a quarterback, you know that's happening. And so on every play you expect it to happen, your footwork gets bad. And May's footwork became
got real bad. Threw the ball prematurely
as the game was going on yesterday.
Yep.
I mean, that was that became apparent. I did not see halftime.
No, I didn't either.
Because are you protesting halftime?
No, I just don't. I never watch it.
People have to understand. I have 2 games this week, and I have to leave tomorrow. The team left today. So I took halftime to make sure I had everything straight on Washington because they don't play until they play on Wednesday. So I wanted to make sure I had everything straight on Washington. I had done a lot of pre-work, but now I had to do the finishing touch because they played on Saturday night at UCLA. So now I had to add in what they were going to do there. So I needed the box score. I needed the stats. And then I know Oregon plays Indiana tonight in Bloomington. So I got everything done on Oregon up to tonight so that tomorrow I can get them done and I can have both of them because they don't play again until they play Penn State, each of them. Yep. So I wanted to make sure I had that done. So that's what I did halftime. That's what I did at halftime. I was like, okay, I know I've got at least a half an hour here. I need to get down and start running some stuff off, including updated stats on Penn State and things like that. That way I'm ready to go. And then I'll watch video when I get out there. But, I mean, so that's why people are like, oh, you're protesting halftime. No, I have work to do at halftime. I mean, I have a job. I mean, it's like I have a job. Yeah. So, which entails like a lot of stuff in a short period of time. So that's why I had to take advantage of the time I had. I wanted to make sure I got dinner. Then after I was done with dinner, then I wanted to make sure I went down at halftime and got some stats and started doing some pre-work. And I think I got everything done this morning. It's all done. So there was no protest on my part.
There's no protest on mine either. Absolutely not.
I mean, I don't. Would I have watched it? Probably not. And here's the reason why. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. I don't watch the pregame show either.
I don't really watch anything but the game. I'm the same way.
For example, I got home from doing the game yesterday, and we'll get to the game in a moment. I don't know, 3:15, maybe 3:15 I got home yesterday from the game. And I got a quick bite to eat when I was done. And then I just wanted to kick back for a little bit. And I watched some of the Waste Management Open, which I usually do anyway, because I think it's a fun tournament. I mean, it's fun. So I'm not watching the pregame show. I just want to watch something with some action in it instead of watching people talk. And it turned out it went sudden death. So I didn't see the national anthem. I can't tell you what. Usually, like the Waste Management Open's done, I flip over. Hey, time for the national anthem, and everything. And I think what they sang 3 different.
I think so.
My understanding is I didn't see any of it because it went extra holes, and Hideki Matsuyama hit his ball into the water on the playoff hole, and they needed a ruling on it as to the fact that I guess it hit a pole. What happened was, the pole that holds the rope up that keeps the fans back. The ball hit the pole and went in the water. Well, I was watching that. Well, finally, okay. Dude gets up, sinks a birdie putt, wins the playoff hole. We're done. Well, as soon as it's done, I flipped it over. When I flipped it over, they were walking out for the coin toss. I went, oh, okay.
That's right. I watched Montana flip the coin. That's exactly when I started watching.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like, I'd just rather watch something than watch nothing. So, all right. If they hadn't gotten the extra hole, I'd have seen the national anthem. And I guess the other two, whatever the other two were. I think one was God Bless America. Whatever. I don't know.
I assume so.
I didn't see it. But it just turned out when I flipped over, they're doing the coin toss. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Now, you can debate whether you think watching golf on TV is action, but I thought it was.
To me, it's a sport.
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But that's. So I don't watch the pregame show.
No, I don't either.
And it's not like I'm anti-pregame show. I'd rather see a game.
You also have the option nowadays, and look, the Super Bowl's a little bit different. You're always going to have 5-hour pregame beforehand, 4 hours, whatever it is. But at this point, with everything out there like it is, social media, etc., you have the option to see so many previews of the game long before the game even starts. So you don't necessarily, you're not watching the pregame show like you used to years ago either. A lot of even diehard fans.
Yeah. I also want to say something about Chris Stahl. Chris Stahl is, I remember when he walked on. And like Penn State really wanted him to. I mean, they recruited him to walk on. Eventually he earned a scholarship. And I was told the first month he was there, this guy's going to be a really terrific long snapper for us. but it wasn't his turn yet. Okay. Finally gets to be his turn. He eventually does get a scholarship out of it. He wins the Manley Award. When I walk into practice, usually I'd say 8 times out of 10, the first players I see are the specialists. If the team is outside, the specialists are usually inside, and I'll walk in through Haluba Hall to get out in the practice field. So I'll go in, I'll talk to those guys for a few minutes before I go out. They're always the nicest group on the face of the earth. Gabe Wosu, Riley Thompson, Tyler Dzansky, Blaise Sokish-Minnick, right? Andrew Dufault, right? Ryan Barker, Matthew Parker. That's the latest group. Well, same thing when Stahl was there. It'd be the first group I'd see. Hi, Mr. Jones. How are you, Mr. Jones? How are you? And incredibly nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Stahl is an incredibly nice guy who's terrific at what he does. And I was just, on a day where they kicked 5 field goals, who do you think snapped it?
Mm-hmm.
He did. I remember saying, before, because he signed as a free agent, I said to him at Pro Day, he said, all you got to do is get in. I said, once you get in, because of your specialized skill, I said, you're going to be in there for at least a dozen years. Because they don't get rid of guys like him.
Heck no.
Okay? I remember Jim Peterzak spent 12 years in the NFL between the Giants and the Saints. And who was the linebacker? Was it Diassi? Who was with the Giants for a period of time. He played at Boston College. They were in for a long time.
Sure.
Why? Because they both could snap the ball. You don't get rid of snappers. Greg Truitt was in the NFL for years. Penn State snapper was in the NFL for years, mostly with the Bengals. But they don't get rid of guys like that. And this guy went out and quietly, because the world didn't know, got the job done. And I'm thrilled for him. Now, will I be there for the Super Bowl parade? Yes. Will I go to the Super Bowl parade?
Probably not.
You may answer.
Probably not.
No. What do I want?
The
only parade, championship parade I want to go to is anything involving Penn State. I'll do that.
Absolutely.
But no, I'm not going to go to this. I may be there, but I'm not going to go to the Seahawks Super Bowl parade. Yeah, that's. You knew going. The game kind of played out the way I thought it would.
I just thought so too.
Seattle's defense was just that good, and Kenneth Walker, I think, is just that good. Now, as for Lindsey Vaughn, I want to start out by praising the incredible job that Breezy Johnson did yesterday. She's the defending world champion in the downhill. She goes out, skis aggressively, keeps control all the way down, and posts a time, because she went out of the gate 6th, and her time held up the rest of the time. As for Lindsey Vaughn, it was awful to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was awful. I mean, I think watching her, my most important goal for her just watching her was just finish. And then we'll see where the chips fall, but just finish. And to have that happen, and I guess she really did a number on her leg. She fractured it.
Did. Yep.
She's in stable condition. Heartbreaking. You throw all that into a comeback. She's been having a great World Cup season. And to have that, because she's won a couple times. It's just gut-wrenching. But it's not have any of it take away from the fact that Breezy Johnson won. And the U.S. also won a gold in the team figure skating where are you going to sue over copyright on this? Because you've been often referred to around here as the quad god.
Well, I know. I'll tell you. I should have, but, I let it slide.
Ilya Malinin from Virginia pulled the fat out of the fire for them. He went up. He was the men's Figure skating was the last one, and he put up a record number. And wasn't perfect in doing it. He just put up a record number. It was incredible. It overcame, I don't know the name of the woman that's out there for the United States, the 26-year-old woman. She struggled in hers. But Ilya Malinin, wow. Did that, and they won a gold there. This morning when I tuned in, they were doing mixed curling. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm like, I'm not going to watch that. Not watching it. No. Not watching it.
No.
I know a lot of people.
I admittedly do not watch a lot of the Winter Olympics.
I've watched.
I see some of it, but not a lot of it.
Before the game yesterday, I was watching the downhills because I think the downhill is exciting.
Sure.
Right. And so I watched some of it. Basketball yesterday. Dick Girardi and I talked with Bill Raftery on Thursday night. And I thought Raf summed it up perfectly to us. He says, guys, he said, Steve, Dick, I'm telling you, every time I watch the Penn State video, he said, there's like 6 or 7 minutes where they play just terrific basketball, and then they get sideways. He says, every game I watch to them, he says, there'll be 6 or 7 minutes and a half, and not in the game, but in a half.
Sure.
He said, they'll play 6 or 7 minutes like, holy cow, wow. And then they can't sustain it. That was yesterday's game. They closed out the first half at a 10-2 run. Okay, so they take a 4-point deficit and turn it into a 4-point lead at halftime. They start out the second half on a 10-2 run. That's great. They're up a dozen. And then they start missing free throws.
Free throws, absolutely.
And this has been, oddly enough, actually a really good free throw shooting team, especially the last month. They've gone from like 72% up over 75% at the line because they've been really good at the line. And when you miss 2 1-and-1s, that's a killer. Because that's a potential 4 points off the board.
Sure.
When you get a technical foul on a flagrant, and unfortunately, I don't understand how this stuff happens. Tom Stewart goes to the line. He's about ready to shoot, and they make an announcement on the foul while he's shooting. I realize that when you're on the road, there's like yelling, screaming, the whole thing, blah, 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 blah. But
yeah, you don't speak.
Not in your own building. Like you can't do that. Let him shoot. Okay? And he missed that shot. Then he came up and was quiet. He hit the next one. I realize on the road they're like, waiting, all
you're gonna have
stuff,
fans, sure.
Crazy. I mean, you do that at home games, except you do it for Penn State. You're kind of I don't understand your thought process. You have money on the games, don't you?
No.
No,
I'd be in a world of trouble. They'd be taking me out of halfway through the show.
The biggest shot of the game was one of the worst shots of the game. Arenas, who had a great game against Indiana, I think he had 29. Got out to a little bit of a slow start yesterday, and then he hit stride. Well, he takes a 3 late in the game. And it's not a good shot. And it's a line drive. And look, when you've done over 1,300 games, you kind of get a feel as to what the ball's probably going to do. I expected it, because it was such a bad shot, I expected it to hit the rim and go down. And the question was going to be like, doing that, who'd then get the rebound? It hit the rim, and instead of going down, it popped up and rolled over. I go, You got to be kidding me. And again, it's one of those, when I was talking about the Penn State Indiana football game, when that ball got deflected at the line of scrimmage on second down, I said, if you're going well, the ball drops right into the hands of Amari Campbell. When you're not going well, which Penn State wasn't at the time, your linebacker Campbell will stumble trying to get back to it and can't quite get in and harmlessly hits the ground.
Sure.
Well, when you're going well, that shot hits the rim and goes straight down like you think it's going to. When you're not going well, it pops in the air and it falls through.
Yeah.
Then when you get to the last play.
I think you could say the same about the last shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you get to the last play, though. They do run exactly what Dick and I outlined they would run. I said, Dick says, we know Arenas is going to get the ball, and they came out. And they lined him up on the low block. I said, well, Dick, you can see what they're going to do, because they had the two big guys at the elbow. Okay? Well, the two big guys in the elbow are not going to get the ball. Yeah. Right? You could tell he was going to come out. And we explained this before the play started. He said he's going to come out. He's going to get to the top of the key, get to the wing. Eventually he'll get the ball. He'll go one-on-one and go. Penn State is supposed to switch on it. Remember, USC had called a timeout. So Penn State in its timeout, Mike asked, this is what we're going to do. He's going to, they knew what USC was going to run, and they knew who was going to get it. And they wanted Freddie to switch out, and I'm not going to say with who because it's not fair. And the switch never happened. Now, even if the switch happened, he may still make the shot.
Yeah.
But it's not what... I mean, that's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
I mean, that's frustrating when the coaches coach it up right. There's another big element in there. Is the coaches coach it up right, and the players have got to play it right. And it's easy to sit there and blame the coaches because, again, I've always talked forever about the simplicity of, well, it's the scheme, and you don't know what the scheme is. I mean, if you really know what the scheme is, I'd like to hear a tutorial as to what you think the scheme is. I'm talking about football, basketball. All right? And it's coaching. I can't believe it's coaching. It's play calling. Like, oh, man. Okay. What do I always say all the time? What's the biggest element of the play? Execution.
Execution.
Execution means everything. Well, the coaches should have... You don't think they've gone over this? You don't think the coaches have gone over this in practice?
Yeah.
Right? Now, a guy
Absolutely.
did say to me kiddingly yesterday, I'm talking about kiddingly, because he was kidding when he said it. Probably should have worked on free throws. And he laughed. He goes, you know what I mean. I said, yeah, I know what you mean. Right? You don't think they don't shoot free throws every day in practice? Of course. That's why their free throw shooting is improved. But it's just, oh well. And that's just another hard one, because what's happening is I see it happening, and they're not quite getting the result, but I see it happening. Young teams begin to start to really play well, and the first sign of it is at home. Well, you see what they're doing at home. At home, they're playing, they beat Minnesota. They had USC on the brink. They had Michigan on the brink.
Well,
they had
Michigan State
on the brink. Right? Those are all at home. Young teams do that at home. It's on the road where they struggle. And it takes longer for them to find their footing on the road. And I mean, the problem is you're not getting results. I mean, you're not getting results, and that hurts. And you've got a lot of people complaining right now, and I understand, because you want to win. You want to win, so I completely understand why people are complaining, because you want to win. And You don't think I want to sit there and do a winning post-game show? Of course I do. It's exponentially more fun. And broadcasting games where the team you're broadcasting for wins is exponentially more fun. So believe me. I mean, I'm a long-suffering fan. I broadcast these games longer than most of you people have watched. I mean, and I've been there for all of them. 44 years worth, all of them, home and away, long trips out, long trips back. And so believe me, I know that you want them to win badly. Imagine how we feel. Imagine how the coaches feel. Imagine how the players feel. So now it's the West Coast trip. Hans Steinbach, 6'11", averaging a double-double. It's a good player. And Zoom Diallo has become, I thought he was no better than okay last year. Going into the game, I thought he was no better than okay. Then they played the game, and I thought he was no better than okay. He has become a very good player. Just sometimes it takes time. Right? Sometimes it takes time. There are so many guys like Frank the Tank at Wisconsin. First 2 years, okay. And then his third year, he's first-team All-American. His fourth year, he's Player of the Year. Then he goes to the NBA. Everybody, on their own clock has to get it done. On their own clock, they have to get it done. So, all right. Anything you wanted to talk about? Because I'm going to get the money here.
No, that was the biggest thing. Yep, Super Bowl, the recap, and then the basketball yesterday. Obviously, tough one. Same thing as you said. It's just and I felt the same way with the final shot. It was basically you knew it was going in just based on, it's when things don't go your way. That's what happens. Absolutely, and just to.
And again, I thought Bill Raftery summed it up.
Yeah, I agree.
Great when Dick and I were talking to him on Thursday night. He says, "Guys," I'm telling you, he says they'll play 5 or 6 minutes of really good basketball. He says, and then they can't sustain it.
No, and that's
said a million times, but it's true. Youth is a disease, but there is a cure.
Yeah, and part of that is part of being youth, you struggle to take care of the ball at times out of those stretches where you, and that's part of it.
That's the part that bothered me yesterday.
Yeah,
above all else, there were too many unforced errors.
Yeah, absolutely.
17 turnovers were ridiculous in the game, but there were too many lazy, the ball out. There was a pass that went to Freddie he wasn't even looking for and hit him off the shoulder. You just sit there and go, you've got to be kidding.
Those are things that
you've got to be more precise
absolutely.
In this game. You've got to be more precise. You're playing in the Big Ten. You might be able to get away with that against Fairfield. You can't get away with it with these guys. So, and that's part of trying to grow up. And it's hard watching the growing pains at times.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's tough. I mean, there's some days where it's just tough watching the growing pains. And again, the fans are frustrated.
Sure.
The fans are frustrated, and I understand it because the fans pay good money and they want to win.
Yeah.
And I totally get it.
And it's tougher in the sense that every game counts the same. I have no doubt about it, but when you have those weekend home games, I think that's the biggest thing. It's more magnified because there's more eyes, I think, on it. Not only in the venue, but also watching the game on television or listening to the game. There's more eyes on the weekends in front of this team, and I think that's what makes it even more frustrating.
Right. So now it's off to Washington, then Oregon. For the first time, Penn State will play out there. They played in the state of Oregon before. They played in the Far West Classic back in the late 70s out in Portland. But this will be the first time they've gone to Seattle and Eugene, and go from there. Money. There've been a lot of really good articles about the financials that have been released. on Penn State's financial report.
Sure.
Except in one area. I mean, I think they've put out great information on rev share. They put on great information on the overall revenue versus expenses.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a great job of putting that out. There's been a lot about debt service that's been put out there, but that's a different, that's a different ball game. But it's all there for people to understand. I think you've got to do a good job of having people understand how intercollegiate athletics in America works. And the articles do not do a good job of telling you that. And that's why, because in any financial report, and I grew up in a business family. And Jack, of course, Jack Ham has his own business. So I mentioned that Jack, in the fall, we were just chit-chatting. And in fact, I know what it was. We were driving to New York together. So you talk about 1,000 things when you're on the road. And I said, look, Jack, I've always told people, I said, and I get pushback on this from people, which I've always found really strange, that the two most important pieces of paper in the financial report are the one that tells you what the expenses are and the other one tells you what the revenue is. I said, the rest of it is just an explanation of it.
Yeah, of how you got to those numbers, sure.
And Jack looks at me, he says, absolutely. He says, those are the first two you look at.
Sure.
All right. Why did we lose so much money here? So now you're trying to crawl through, like, how come we lost all that money over here? He says, any business, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Okay? I think Penn State was on the plus side by like $250,000. Something like that. Football made, I think, $47 million, something like that. Right around there. 47, 48 million. And men's basketball, excuse me, it's been a long week. I haven't had any time off. When's the last time I had time off? Men's basketball made about $250,000. Everybody else lost. And this is the part where I don't think people understand. Like, the base numbers are the numbers.
Uh-huh.
Okay? The base numbers are the numbers. So, for example, let's see, men's ice hockey. Men's ice hockey had record revenue, but they also had record expenses. And they ended up losing, I think, $2.4 million. Women's basketball lost, I think it was $4.7 million. Women's soccer and women's volleyball, two very popular sports, both lost between 1.7 and 2.4 million, something like that. I mean, we're not talking about tip change here. How do you make $47 million in football and then at least make a small profit in men's basketball?
Yep.
Right, which means they're self-sustaining, right, and end up with a $250,000 plus, because everybody else loses, right? And of course, the one that galls so many people is the wrestling number. A year ago, it was $2 million. Well, this particular year, I think they set a revenue record this year. And they also set a record expense. They lost more than $1.7 million. Now, this is where it gets into the absurd part of it for me. And the absurd part is they should take the men's basketball money and they should put it into wrestling. Okay. To do what? So we'll spend more money on wrestling. So instead of losing $1.7 million, you'll lose $2.7 million. What? But they should put more into men's ice hockey. So instead of losing 2.4, you're going to lose 3.4. I mean, those are expenses I'm talking about. Yeah. These are expenses. Like, you need more money for expenses. Right? And my favorite is, well, it's only because of the media money. What, do you want to give it back? What's wrong with you people? Right? If you're not, they should scrap the men's basketball program. Okay. Guess what you don't get? You don't get a media cut, and you don't get an NCAA cut. And you want to know what the NCAA cut for wrestling was last year? I saw it. It's in the report. That's why you do kind of dive down a little bit deeper to see what it is. You know what the cut was last year? The NCAA cut? $16,000. It barely pays for staff hotel rooms at the championships. Like, that's not their fault. This has nothing to do with the sport. Zero.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Cale, Cody, Casey, Nick Lee, all the great wrestlers, all the pride everybody. This has nothing to do with that. I'm talking pure business now.
Right.
It's a pure business thing. Now, does men's basketball need to be better? Absolutely. Absolutely, men's basketball needs to be better. There's no question about that. We all know that. That's a simple, truthful statement. Men's basketball needs to be better. I got it. Remember, I sit there every game for decades. If anybody knows, it's actually not you, it's me. Okay? I've sat through every minute. Okay? So if anybody knows, you think you know? No, you don't know. I've sat there for all of them. When you turn off the radio or turn off the TV, I'm still there. Okay? So if anybody knows they need to be better, it's me. Okay? They need to be better. I got it. But don't start being the immature person in the room. And it is total, complete immaturity. Of, well, they should take it and move it over here. They should get rid of it. The whole thing. What's wrong with you people? There are two sports based on media agreements that bring in money. Based on media agreements. Because, look, a lot of what Penn State football is the attendance numbers at Beaver Stadium. Because when it comes to rev share, Pat has to write a check to the Big Ten. Because of the attendance at Beaver Stadium, which is it's a great spot to be in. That you can it's not a happy day when Pat has to write that check.
No.
Yeah, that way Rutgers gets more money. Maryland, which averages $30,000 a game, and men's basketball. The NCAA tournament is $1 billion enterprise per year. Well, Penn State doesn't help there. No, actually, when Penn State made it 3 years ago, they actually earned the conference, which rolls over for 6 years, $4.2 million. Because they got in and they advanced around. And it rolls for 6 years. When it's all said and done, they'll kick in $4.2 million to the Big Ten. That's why being good in it is important. That's why I give the Big 12 a lot of credit. They have really emphasized the basketball part of it. And I remember talking with Cale in 2020 when they canceled the NCAA basketball tournament. It was a financial hit for everybody at this university.
Sure.
And it was Cale's like, geez, he said, because I think they get 60% of the money. Well, everybody, they had to cut back on everybody here because they didn't get that distribution. You know, the program that the amateur want to drop.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. No, if you drop it, you don't get the money. All right. I want them to be better, but remember, there's financial ramifications to all of this. Big financial ramifications to it. Well, it's only because of the media money. What do you want to give it back? No, it's only because, okay, they get an NCAA distribution. Well, they're not in the tournament. They don't deserve it. All those years, Indiana got bowl money and never went.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, now, does Penn State basketball have to be better? Yeah, of course they need to be better. I got it. I mean, what do you think? I'm sitting there in a wing and a prayer? Hey, they're doing great. Okay. I'm the one that gives the score after every basket. I'm the one that has to do the post-game show and ask the questions, along with Dick. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, wait, you're going to tell me?
It's obvious.
You're going to tell me?
Yeah.
But as a program,
yeah,
okay, they're self-sustaining. Okay, the profit margin's gone down because to me, they have the potential by winning to get between a $2 and $4 million profit by winning. I think they have the potential to get between a $2 and a $4 million profit.
Yeah.
See, nobody else has that ability. Okay? Men's ice hockey is a great product, but they don't have the ability to get a $2 to $4 million profit. Wrestling is the best single program in the country, but the logistics keep them from being a $2 to $4 million profit for the athletic department so they can use it for other things. They don't have that ability to get there. They just don't. And I'm just talking about, I mean, this is an athletic department thing. This has nothing to do with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club and things like that. Okay. It's what does athletics pay and what do they get back?
Sure.
I mean, that's why the report comes out the way it does.
Yeah.
What do you pay? What do you get back? I mean, you should, for example, they do have in there the camp money. Wrestling does a lot of camp money. They do really, really well with camps. And I saw it. I mean, I was impressed. Like, hey, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because, I mean, wouldn't you want to be at a Penn State wrestling camp?
Absolutely.
Oh, my God, yeah. Right, in a heartbeat. Well, I saw the wrestling camp money, because I went through and read this. I'm like going, hey, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And the sport in general has grown to the point that it's at a level that where just about where you want. I think from a sports perspective, would you like it bigger? Absolutely. But you're not having that TV revenue. That's a big difference.
TV revenue is a big difference, but has it really grown?
Has the sport grown with Penn State? Yes. Has the sport
Penn State when they're there.
Yeah.
I was just watching the Michigan dual meet the other night on TV. I don't know. All I know is the lower bowl looked completely filled to me. You couldn't tell,
right?
Because it's so dark up there as to whether
I think
they didn't wrestle at Keene. They wrestled in Chrysler because it was Penn State. Right? Penn State's the draw everywhere they go.
Absolutely.
The problem is when you watch other dual meets on TV. Right? And here's the other part. The gap performance-wise between Penn State and the number 2 team is a chasm.
Sure, and you're going to find that out Friday night.
It's a chasm.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, even here, I mean, this will be, the third Jordan Center dual meet of the year?
It is. Yeah, Oklahoma was the first. Yes, it will be the third.
They haven't sold any of them out so far.
No, including this one. And this is 1 versus 2. So
they haven't sold them out. See, that was always Cale's biggest concern about it, because I've talked to Cale about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
He always wanted to do one in there because one would be special, the whole thing. And I know they've been encouraged to put more in there because they draw so well. But even Oklahoma drew 7,000.
Yeah.
Which is barely above a rec hall meet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it also is getting that.
They made the concession last year to help out women's volleyball.
Yeah, to get Wyoming.
Right, to get Wyoming. That drew only 7,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it also is not only the draw, but to get more fans involved in wrestling, I think, too. Rec Hall has its season ticket holders, its niche of wrestling fans that are diehard fans that have been there for many, many years. And they're an asset to the sport, absolutely. The only thing that Rec Hall doesn't have, and that's, again, it's the atmosphere is unbelievable for a wrestling dual meet. It doesn't have that ability to bring in a lot of new fans because of the fact that, look, the older fans are diehards. They still bleed that sport. Sure. That's what I think the Jordan Center meets do a lot more often. It brings in those fans that you're hoping you could draw into the sport of wrestling. Right. I think there's no doubt it does that, but yeah, I agree with Cale. I think from a perspective of how many you want to have there, I think you still want to sell out. You didn't sell out the Rutgers dual meet a couple of years back, didn't sell out the Wisconsin dual meet a couple of years back, obviously didn't sell out. Wyoming was an exception, I think, last year, no doubt.
I explained the
absolutely.
But I want to make sure I had the circumstances.
Yeah, but Nebraska, same thing. Look, the weather was not great for Nebraska, I get it. But hockey drew 75,000 almost that weekend, same weekend, and that same temperatures. So,
and they were outside.
Exactly. So I think there's... It's a fine line. I think I would agree with Cale. I think one a year is probably better, and I think the schedule also helps more dictate it towards one a year. But again, the problem with that, you're not bringing that fan in that you're hoping to bring in by only having one.
And every other year you have to go to Iowa.
Absolutely.
Which means this is a year Iowa didn't come here.
Yeah.
Now, I would expect the Big Tens.
Mm-hmm. No, there's no doubt.
To me,
they're going to be extremely popular.
Got to be a sellout.
Just about already. I think only the cheap seats were available.
Right.
Yeah.
And Penn State fans, I think, may have a chance to get some tickets from other schools if they can, because it's divided up.
Yeah, 14.
Yep. But if you can't go to the national championship, you might as well watch the pseudo national championship. Watch it when it's here.
Great that it's back here too, because you had it in 2021. You couldn't really have full capacity. You had still had the COVID regulations for the most part in place. There was attendance, but not to the level that you wanted to see it.
That's why they wanted to bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Penn State, let's face it,
they drive the sport.
There's
no doubt,
without question.
Yeah.
And you want to bring it back here because you really got ripped off the last time just by timing.
Sure.
And the fans here deserve to have that. They deserve to have, and the sport needs to have it here. And I know that I've seen Shane Sparks talk about already. He says, this could be the greatest one ever. Well, I don't blame him because the crowd makes such a difference here. They're sophisticated. They
passionate. I think in a lot of ways
passionate.
too.
I mean, when there's nothing going on, they wait, and then when something happens, they get excited. They know when something big's about to happen.
Absolutely.
And
I remember Shane being here for the was that the Olympic trials last year? I think the Olympic trials, and just seeing the passion, just commenting on the same thing, just commenting on how special it is to be here for big events because of just how much this region as a whole, and not just Penn State, from at the high school level, you see it big time, just the passion that this region has for wrestling.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it's here, it's Iowa, and it's probably Oklahoma. The other 47 states, it's
Ohio State to an extent. Obviously, that's not going to be the main program at Columbus, but I think Ohio State to an extent. But yeah, other than that,
not really. Not really. I was in Columbus for 3 days.
It depends on who. It is the other opponent that draws, no doubt. Iowa being one.
Let's be honest here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what does Columbus also have besides Ohio State?
Mm-hmm. Blue Jackets.
Yeah, and that's been one of the biggest surprises to me. I never thought the Blue Jackets would hurt Ohio State winter sports attendance. I never did. I was like, it's the Blue Jackets. Who cares? They
It has. Absolutely has.
They have impacted their wrestling attendance. They have impacted their basketball
in a big way, their basketball.
I mean,
absolutely.
The arena that they play in is 19,000 seats. It is, I'm talking about Ohio State. Way
too big. Absolutely.
I mean, to be honest with you, this is the largest city in the state of Ohio, population-wise, and they should only be playing in a 10 or 11,000 seat arena.
Yeah. You go back to when they first, that arena first had its big games. I remember they had Duke in the ACC Classic a couple of years ago. There was, 18, 19,000 there. But beyond that, they've not drawn that.
No.
Not at all.
No. And that's, I don't,
that I think
the Blue Jackets have had more of an impact.
They have. They've had a huge impact.
And I never thought I never thought it was going to be like Columbus. Okay, the Blue Jackets, whatever. And the Blue Jackets have never been a factor.
Yeah, and the fact that
look, and they had a great star in the late Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah,
who's a great player. I mean, they had who was the young guy that the Rangers ended up getting, who was a really good scorer for Columbus, and then the Rangers ended up getting him. But that's been the extent of it. Bobrovsky, who's now the goalie for Florida, was there. Bobrovsky was Columbus's goaltender. They've had players over the years. This guy wore number 60, if I remember. The heck was his name? He went to the Rangers. Yeah, he was a good goal scorer for them early on or midway through. And I thought they'll never affect Ohio State. It's like, whatever. Ohio State's entrenched. Well, now 25 years later, I wasn't right. They've affected Ohio State in a big way. They've affected their men's basketball attendance, women's basketball attendance, wrestling attendance, everything. Because people have only X amount of money to spend. Hey, by the way, today, Team USA is playing Switzerland in women's ice hockey, and Tessa Janicki, who already has 2 assists in this tournament, by the way, it's at 2:40 this afternoon on USA Network to see Tessa play hockey. Look, we're all proud. I mean, everybody's so proud of what Penn State Wrestling does, accomplishes, their approach, how they go about it, the kind of program they have, the values that Cale and his staff and his program stand for. Everybody's proud of that. I'm just talking about money here. People hate when I talk about money, but I want everybody to understand the difficulty that you have today in how to get money for programs. I pointed out the Iowa women's basketball program a few times because every single thing that could possibly go right for that program, short of winning the national title, even though they were in the Final Four in the title game, okay? Every possible scenario you can have. Awesome star, charismatic team, selling out at home and the whole thing. That team her senior year still lost $3.4 million.
Sold out every game, had an outdoor game.
The outdoor game they lost money on. And I think you're going to find the outdoor game for Penn State men's ice hockey, you may find out they lost money on that too. Because you got to remember, people say, well, they should divide up the BTN money. Okay, that's a fair question to ask. They should divide up the BTN money on appearances and so forth, except if you look at the contract, BTN has paid as part of the entire deal, like CBS, like Fox Sports 1, Peacock. They've paid for men's basketball.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what they've paid for. That's why it goes on the men's basketball end, because that's what those entities paid for. CBS paid for that. Fox paid for that, along with Fox Sports 1 and BTN and Peacock. They paid for that. They paid for men's basketball. They did not. If you notice on Peacock and on Fox Sports 1 and on Fox, is there any men's ice hockey on? Is there any wrestling on?
Nope.
Is there any other sports on besides, right? That's why it's on that line. It's fair to ask the question, but from a TV point of view, what's the first thing that they schedule in the wintertime on BTN? Men's basketball. Okay? Which means everything else is programmed around it. This is after you're done with football.
Yep.
Football gets programmed first. Okay? And the programming, okay? But all the other sports get programmed after that, which means what are they?
Yep.
Filler. Right? That's an awful word. I'm telling you, okay, you want to go over to the TV studio and say, okay, how'd you make the decision on that? Because that's where we could put it. Because we got a men's basketball game with Indiana and Purdue. Okay. That gets scheduled first for a reason. Then everything else fills in around it. That's why it's referred to as filler. Fox has the game of the week on a Friday night, sometimes a Saturday night. All right, well, now we're not going to put another men's basketball game against Illinois, Michigan State on Saturday night. So we're going to put, I can't remember what they had on BTN that night because Duke played North Carolina. By the way, did you see when North Carolina pressed Duke, what Duke did?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they turned it over.
Uh-huh.
Like, there are days I do get frustrated in this job. Like when Penn State does something wrong, it's like they're the only team in the country that does it wrong. Like, no. Do you watch other games? I told him, I said, I'm watching North Carolina Duke the other night. Okay? North Carolina's down. They pressed. What did Duke do? Stop. Turned it over. It's like because people they panic. They don't. Some days I feel like I'm talking to the wall. Not that I think you're a wall. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest